Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. We are back. It's been way too long. I know we had a brief show last week where we had Tom Colomassi from the Daily Mail. We did a bit of a pre-record of a little bit of a roundup, but this is our first live show in I don't know how long, probably 4 weeks. And yeah, boys, it feels good to be back. Kev, first of all, great to see you, mate.
Mate, I managed to time it really well, didn't I, with moving house and having no internet for, I think it was 35 days until yesterday. So just so everyone who's watching doesn't think we haven't just done this around me, it just timed it pretty well. But I timed my no internet situation with the World Cup obviously being on, but also can't watch games, but also it means I've not missed too much Villa chat really because there's not been that much going on. So, mate, I'm cooking on gas now. So yeah, good to go.
Fantastic. So yeah, we can expect much more content, much more Kev over the next few weeks, and another returner. What have we got in the comments here? Is it Martinho Conte? Is it Martinho Conte? There we are. Here he is, the man himself, the mastermind, the coach. He's back. How you doing, Martin?
All good, lads. Been a good while, but delighted to be back after
Marty Southgate. There we go.
Yeah.
Got his coaching badges. Congratulations, first of all.
Cheers. I'm up to, I think it's UEFA Youth Cert, so it enables me to coach amateur, senior, and League of Ireland underage. But obviously, I'm not focusing on the League of Ireland underage at the minute. I want to kind of go a bit further before I even ever step foot into the professional standard. But amateur starting off as you would do is a good place starting off. But it's good to be back on the pod, after some time away and talk about Aston Villa for a change.
I can feel the chants coming as well, Martin. I can feel them. Mark Leonard. He slipped on his. Won't say that one. Yeah, don't
He's
fall
better
like
than Steve Gerrard.
Yeah, Mark Leonard.
There we go. See,
you're playing for that chant in a few years to come, aren't you?
Yeah. We don't hear him. We want Leonard out. I say we want Leonard out. Could be.
Well, we've got viewers watching already. We've got comments coming in, so please get your comments in. We are going to talk. We are going to talk the friendly match today against Brighton because the players are out in Dubai and preparing for the return of the Premier League season. We're going to talk about Villa women because while the World Cup's been going on, the Villa women's team have been a couple of mixed results, but done very well in the recent Continental Cup competition. So we'll talk that for a little bit, and also rounding up transfers. The rumour mill has been in full flow. So get your comments in about who you think we should be signing, who would be great in terms of the players that have been rumoured. Who would you want to see coming in, and if anyone, and who do you think potentially is going to go out? So we'll get right into that as well, because I'm pretty sure there'll be one or two players either going out on loan or going. So yeah, and also as always, if you are new to the channel, please drop us a like on the video, and please subscribe. As I say, if you are new, I think we're coming up to 730 now, lads. I know we've had a bit of a lull over the last few weeks, but yeah, on the road to 1,000, which would be fantastic if we could get that before Christmas. So, what have we got here, Martin? Are you in the middle of a house move there? Gaza says.
No, this is what you call Santi.
Right, okay.
Little niece in the house. Her name's Lily, and we kind of have to keep all the Santi stuff up here. If there's any kids watching Santi's very real.
Yeah, you just get like shoved in where all the bric-a-brac goes.
Mark, did you say Santi? Santi then, not Santa. Santi.
Santi.
Like Cazorla.
Yeah.
Or Santi Claus.
You spell Santi with a Y,
Santi. This is eye-opening podcast chat already.
It is.
5 minutes in. Santa Claus or Father Christmas. He's called Santi in Ireland.
Yeah, Santi. We just only go Santi because it's
Jesus. If it's not like Guinness, leprechauns, now it's Santi. What's going on, Martin? Santi. What's this? Rich, have you ever heard that before? Santi?
To be fair, they do say that in up here in Geordie land. So yeah,
Santi?
I
I
have
thought it
heard
was
it. Yeah.
Spanish player incoming Rumour you were talking about?
No, not Cazorla. No,
No,
All right.
no.
Sorry. I'm half
No.
Irish, so yeah, I should have known that really. Anyway.
Yeah, I have heard that. I have heard the Santi. Now, and this is wonderful stuff for the first podcast back as well, isn't it? Like talking Santi. But yeah, so let's get into it. Villa 2, Brighton 2. First kind of game back. Very much it's a bit of a strange one, really, isn't it, Kev? I guess it's like pre-season all over again.
Yeah, it must be quite odd for the players. They never would have had anything like this ever. You know, I mean, particularly for the more established pros, like, you know, Ashley Young's probably been doing 20 years of pre-seasons and getting into the season. And then this is kind of crunch time now, isn't it? Coming up to Christmas. Whereas now they're in sunny climes and they're playing, you know, relatively not hugely competitive ball sounds, friendly, just to keep fitness levels up and keep yourself sharp. It's a very different mentality that you need to have, I think, in this situation.
Yeah. And Mark, before we kind of get into the game and who played and all that sort of stuff, I did tweet out kind of, what he might be looking to get out of this game, Emery, and various things ranging from players coming through unscathed, fitness in the legs, all that sort of stuff, and that's really all you can really look for, isn't it? And maybe a little bit of the kind of coaching that Emery maybe has been instilling in the players.
Yeah, he's just looking to just keep fitness up. For me, really, it didn't matter what the score was, whether we won, lost, or even drew like we did today. It was about just for the players keeping their fitness up, just staying sharp for when they restart for the Premier League, and young players getting their chances as well. And some of them, in fairness to them, I did like some of them. Caden Young, he looked very good. The centre midfielder, I can't remember, was the Arjan
Reiki, yeah.
He got the assist for the own goal, picked himself up in a really good position from a good set piece. But overall, I'm happy with it. Like, I'm not completely upset or completely overexcited, because it was just mainly everyone to keep their fitness up, and it was good to see. There's my dad. Yeah, they're over in Lanzarote telling themselves at the minute.
Good.
But it was just, like I said, they're all keeping up their fitness, which was great to see. And for once, Olsen didn't concede 3 goals, so I think that's the positive we can look into this. So,
yeah, definitely. And I think, like I say, Kev, I don't know how much you kind of watched of it. It looked very much like a training exercise in the first half, like both teams just trying to work out their passing moves, like giving each other a bit of time and space, especially sort of playing it out from the back. I guess that's one of those things that they're going to give each other, both teams are going to give each other a bit of time and space to work on things and to work on moves that they've maybe been doing in training.
Yeah, mate, I didn't see. I know about as much of this game as I did for the Irish work for Santa. So, I've got absolutely no idea. But
thanks for joining the pod.
yeah, no worries, guys. I mean, some of us were working lunchtime.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't think you can read too much into it, really. And I tell you what I did think about it when I saw the result come through and see comments on the performance was, we had a fantastic pre-season in terms of results, didn't we? The actual proper pre-season, undefeated, some decent wins, a good comeback against Man United to get a draw, beat Stade Rennais, decent French team. Didn't mean absolutely anything. Diddly squatting them.
Nah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like we've said, you can't read anything into these results. It's all about getting a bit of fitness, a little bit of sharpness, and probably implementing what Emery's been doing in training. I guess one or two little, you've mentioned some of the young players playing well. I think he started with McGinn, Buendia, and Louise in that midfield, and glimpsing at some of the action. I thought Louise looked pretty sharp, and it's going to be interesting to see what role he's going to play in that midfield for the rest of the season, isn't Martin? I mean, there's rumours that he might be one to move on, or whether he is going to be a really important first team player, but he seems to have found a bit of form at the moment. Well, certainly before the break, he seemed to have found a bit of form.
Yeah, I think not just him who found that bit of form. It's kind of everybody, that new manager bounce that everyone just kind of gets. But obviously he's been the most noticeable one. So yeah, today he looked really, really good. And obviously, I think the way he's handled things, and even when the contract thing was going on before he signed it, he was more or less just focusing on the football and not letting, going to media saying, I want this or I want that. Like, he's kind of been keeping a hush, keeping really professional, that's what you want to see in a footballer. Just focus on your football and let all the contract things be behind the scenes and not to the press. And whether for him to be a first team player under Emery's plans, I think very much so he will be in there, because he is a very good technical player who would suit Emery to be able to play from the back and press him forward. So I don't think he'll move on from Emery's plans, but whether he decides himself he wants to move on, if he does, I personally think we shouldn't stop him from doing so, because obviously Emery has a very good pull as well. So, and like generally, as the saying goes, everyone's replaceable in football. So whether he does go, he's very easily replaceable because of the players we're kind of linked to at the minute. Obviously, we'll get onto that in a while. But I hope he doesn't, because I think he'd be unbelievable with Emery's plans, because the way he plays, like, supposedly it's a 4-4-2, but it's not a 4-4-2. So, like, I personally, I'd like to see him stay, because I think he's fantastic. Obviously, when he signed the new deal, which is basically him saying, I want to stay regardless of what manager there is or what setup there is in the club. So hopefully he stays. I know he's not with Alicia Lehman anymore, so please God he stays.
yeah, let's hope so. Kev, I know, like I say, didn't watch much of the game, maybe saw the goals and stuff, but it's one of those things where it's always nice for a striker to, whether it's a tap in or whatever, it's always nice for them to get in the areas to score. And Danny Ings obviously gets the goal today, and then the other one's an own goal, but following up from the last game before the break against Brighton, where he scored 2, in fact. That's got to be a nice little confidence boost moving into the next couple of games, and then to Boxing Day against Liverpool.
No matter what, playing football at any level, even warming up, playing football at any level, you have a couple of shots at the keeper, you hit one in, you feel good. It's like anything, isn't it? Like, if you feel good about yourself, you keep it going, it breeds confidence, and that's the important thing. I even think about that when I watch them warming up at Villa Park, when they're doing the training drills just before the kickoff. I think, God, like, it doesn't bode well sometimes, some of the finishing that you see. And then sometimes you see people and they look really confident, everything going in the corner. So he's not had the run of games in the team that he would have liked ever since he came to us really consistently. Whereas, at Southampton, Burnley, obviously he was main man, play every week, got some decent goal returns. Not quite the level people always say to him. He's not a 1-2 striker, but he's had seasons when he has been that level. And he should be prime of his career. And actually, with some of the injury problems he's had, I actually think that he's probably missed a lot of football. So as long as his knees are still okay, I think it was his knees, then actually he might actually be a little bit younger in terms of miles on the clock. The car might have been in the garage for a couple of years, not being driven. So there's no reason why he can't be someone that can get goals for us consistently if he can keep the confidence high.
Yeah. And one or two other players before we move on, Matt. Obviously, as a player again who's kind of come to the fore under Emery, Leon Bailey, and is playing in that advanced role just off the striker, seems to be picking up the ball and running at players. How key is he going to be for this second half of the season?
Very crucial. I mean, obviously last season, and he even quoted himself, he easily could have left at the start of this season with the bad season that he had. But he decided he wanted to stay because that's not who he was. He wasn't a quitter. He wanted to prove people wrong. And for about a few weeks, he still wasn't great, but you could see a little bit of improvement in his play. But then when Emery came in and we've seen this whole new role for him to play in, and he's absolutely flourished. And it's really goes to show the sort of player that we wanted. Sorry, I'll correct myself. It really showed the way he wanted to play and the way we wanted to see him play for the player that we signed. And I think for the second half of the season, if he stays fit, because we all know the way his injury things as well, he's a bit like Danny Ings. Like once he's injured, he's out for a good while. He will be crucial, and in that role, he seems to flourish. And with the pace that he's got, the trickery, that's every defender's nightmare. Someone with pace and trickery, So I think he's going to be absolutely crucial, and he could probably be one of our top goal scorers this year under Emery in that role, if he stays fit. And there could be a lot of teams sniffing around for him, but hopefully we can keep a hold of him.
100%. And then Kev, I guess another one who's again seems to be flourishing, seems to kind of, whether there was rumours of it not really getting on as well with the previous manager, bit part player in and out. But yeah, Emi Buendia, again, another player who can be really key for us and really cement that playmaker position for Villa this second half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, Buendia is another one like Bailey for me where the hopes are really high. I think the difference with someone like Buendia and Bailey right now is, and I've put Louise and Coutinho in this category as well, they'll be watching their countrymen, actually not too far away from what they are right now, who are getting ready for a World Cup quarterfinal. And, with better form, and Buendia and Bailey have had chances, and obviously Bailey's not going to probably get there anytime soon nationally. But, Buendia, Louise, Coutinho have had chances in that Villa team over the last, 6-9 months to show that they should be part of those squads. And I do wonder whether what that does to a player. Does that make you really think, come on, now's the time to kick on? Or does it make you think, maybe go into your shell a little bit? So it remains to be seen. The first thing they've got to worry about is their club form. If you worry about your club form, everything else will look after itself. But, a penny for the thoughts of anyone, sat there watching. You've got players like Gabriel Jesus, who obviously can't get in the Brazil team. I know he's obviously been injured now. But a penny for your thoughts, because if you ever need any motivation at that stage of your career, Coutinho maybe he's, a bit further down the line and maybe, might be done with Brazil. But when Deer and Louise should really be prime career now for them to get in those squads. To do that, they've got to perform week in, week out at the club.
100%. And, I think, interestingly enough, Tyrone Mings gave some insight into, the training under Emery and what it's like and the intensity and how much they've got to be focused and how much they've got to learn. Now that can go one or two ways. Tom Colomassi, if you haven't caught that episode, please do, from last week. He mentioned, that Emery is very, very detail orientated, and it's always great. It's great when the results are going well. It's great when it's new. But like if you're maybe not in the team or if it's not going amazing, then are you going to be sitting in a 2-hour lecture where you're talking about certain positions and stuff when you're not going to play? So it's all brilliant now. But what is interesting to see is that, players like Buendia, players like Bailey, that you see them kind of really wanting to improve, really wanting to impact. And if they are going to have that regular game time, then they need to kind of take these ideas on board, don't they?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And now's the time now. You can't always blame the coach for everything. There's some of these players have been at, the club under Dean Smith, under Steven Gerrard, and now under Unai Emery. It is horses for courses, and there might be some other players there that just won't get on with Emery's style that might well do well elsewhere. That's just the reality. He'll have players that he fancies, and other ones might want to move on to get more regular football.
Yeah.
But if you've got the fitness side of it there, in terms of an elite Premier League club with like conditioning, performance coaches, all that kind of stuff. If you've got the analytical side of it now and the preparation side of it, apparently is going to be absolutely on point. You've got the meticulous level of detail that he goes into. I think you're giving yourself every opportunity from a marginal gains perspective to be as good as you can be. But the biggest thing I'm looking forward to from him, from what we've seen so far, is confidence. He's believing. It's like anything, isn't it? If you think you can, then you're right. Is that very famous quote? And I want the players to be thinking that. And what we've seen so far, by all accounts today, was some confident play at times, and certainly under his brief tenure with us, it's just looked positive. Even the Man United defeat, where there was defensive shambles in the cup, there were still positives in terms of some of the attacking play. And I just think that bodes really well. But the reality is this: you got to get on board. You got to be. I look at this in almost every job. I look at this at, my lad's football team. Sometimes I'm chatting to his coach and I'm saying, like, I reckon some of the players haven't committed yet. There's some people in their careers and they probably don't give it as much as they should. Maybe because they don't want to. It's not for everyone. But if you say that you want to be elite, you want to be the best, or you want to be the best under 9 player in your team or whatever, you got to commit to that. And that's committing not just to the physical side of it, but to the mental side of it. What do I need to do to be the best player? What do the best players do? I always remember Rick, the other Rich, obviously on the pod, Rich Bartlett, always say to me, long-time friend and all that, and talking about Joey Barton and Frank Lampard, go back years ago, might be for like 2010 World Cup, 2014 World Cup, and Joey Barton was in an interview, and basically was asked, chances to get into the World Cup squad, you're playing pretty well the last 6 months, Joey. And he's like, yeah, well, the last 6 months I've been getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I've been, eating this and doing that. And it's mentioned to Frank Lampard, and Frank Lampard apparently said, I've been doing that since I've been 10.
Yeah.
At some point as a player, you've got to get with the program. You've got to go, right, I am all in, chips on the table. I'm motivated. I'm committed. My diet's going to be right. If they're gaming too much, if they're eating too much rubbish food at weekends, if they're going out too much, that is easily fixed. The mental side of it, understanding tactics and analysis, and understanding positions and being disciplined, that takes a bit more work. But we can't ask for a better coach from a track record perspective to give us the opportunity now to kick this club on.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, let's hope so, and let's hope we've got a big second half of the season to come, because we've got some big matches coming up in the Christmas period: Liverpool, Tottenham, Wolves. So yeah, massive time. We play Chelsea next, Martin, in the friendly. Then we've got Villarreal next Thursday. I think it is Thursday night.
Yeah.
What are you expecting? A little bit more sort of a step up in tempo the next couple of games, maybe. More likely the team that he's going to start with? Do you see like Matty Cash coming in now he's back off the World Cup? What are you kind of expecting?
Starting off with Matty Cash, I don't expect him to play any preseason games, but because they got to the last 16, but I probably would expect him to come back to train with the club probably in a few days, just give him a few days rest, which I've seen him do probably on his Instagram with family members, and some of the lads have seen him in Dubai, so he probably isn't around the camp, just not training because he's been so intense with Poland and games. So I think it's only fair to give him a few days rest, but I don't see him getting involved in any games whatsoever because of the intensity that he's been constantly going at. So he's actually still been going ahead of these players at the minute that haven't got called up to the World Cup. So I think the break is only fair. In terms of the two games against Chelsea and Villarreal, was it? Would you say, Rich?
Yeah, Villarreal, yeah.
Would I expect up a bigger tempo? Yes and no. Yes, I do, because they're two, two very big clubs, and we want to impress the manager against, the big clubs. But at the same time, it's all about the players' fitness. Like, this is the point of it. Like we said in the beginning, it's a bit like pre-season, so it's kind of a blessing in disguise for Emery that this World Cup has happened, because you can see who's going to do well in his system, who's not going to do well, who's going to be leaving, who's going to be staying. So it's all very much in the works for him. So I think that I do expect probably a bigger tempo, but I don't expect massive performance. It's just keeping the fitness up, ready for coming back for the St. Stephen's Day fixtures against Liverpool. So yeah, that's my expectation on it.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting, and it's just nice to have a bit of Villa talk back, isn't it? Really, it's just nice to talk Villa again. One of the parts of the club, areas of the club that hasn't been breaking for the World Cup is the women's team, and bit of a mixed bag, Kev, with the women's side. first of all, I think they lost 5-0 against Man United, and I guess that kind of shows that they've been doing well. I think they've basically won lost in terms of the league, but it shows like there's a real gulf in class with some of the teams in that WSL, doesn't it? Similar to the Premier League, you know, when you come up against the big teams, it shows the gulf in class.
Yeah, it's very, very similar to Premier League and probably, you know, a lot of other top leagues, although, you know, it's not quite, you know, a Bayern Munich situation in Germany or a PSG in France situation. But, you know, on the back of a couple of seasons of struggle, you know, started up comfortably enough last season. I think it was obviously a bit touch and go the year before. This season is poles apart, and inconsistency is probably going to be very much expected. But, you know, out of 12 teams in the league, they're currently sat fifth. And, you know, the teams ahead of them are Man City, Arsenal, Man United and Chelsea, which are the standout teams in the league. So they're technically best of the rest at the moment, which is, you know, which is a really, really great performance after, you know, playing, well, they've all played like 8-9 games, most of the teams. Really, really pushed on by the performances of Rachel Daly, you know, who's already the record, you know, goal scorer, goal involvement of any, you know, WSL player ever for Villa in her first season. Played up front for England, didn't she? It was recently as well. So
she did, you know, yeah, she did, and scored, yeah. And she's been named the November Player of the Month as well for. I'm not sure if it's Villa or for the full WSL.
I'm not sure that.
Yeah, the full WSL award she got for November. So
and
just shows what a signing.
August, didn't she as well?
She's England international too, isn't she? Like she does play for England as well.
Yeah, she's left back for England. Left back for England until recently, but bang him in like joint top scorer in the WSL. You've got to start saying, hang on a minute, like, you know, give her a chance in your position. But yeah, disappointing result against Man United. By all accounts, Man United were absolutely mustard on the day, but then going to the Conti Cup, which is the League Cup, and beat Sheffield United and finished top of the group and into the quarterfinals. So, you know, a real season of positives for Aston Villa under Carla Ward. The women's team is going from strength to strength, and look, you've just got to keep momentum going. You know, you talk about the friendlies against Chelsea and Villarreal. You know, you're going into the transfer market and you beat a top team like Villarreal, you know, in a game, and we're not getting European football. You know, if the only teams you're playing from a European football perspective are Stade Rennais and Villarreal, and you get results against them, then, you know, that's all you can get people to notice, isn't it? And it's the same for Aston Villa ladies. You know, if you go further in a cup, you get a higher league position, you can attract better players.
Absolutely, and we could, you know, you could then be talking 2 or 3 internationals in the side next season, as opposed to, you know, just Rachel Daly, and you've seen what a difference she makes, and then, you know, it just continues from there, and you're talking bigger crowds going into Europe, or all that sort of stuff. So it's really positive signs for the women's side. Just before we move on to sort of transfer rumours and 1 or 2, you know, anything else that we want to cover. Gaza asked a question around, is Emmy going to win the World Cup for the Villa lads? And I thought it might be an idea to, just round up a little bit of the World Cup involving some of the Villa players. Obviously, Matty Cash bowed out in the round of 16, along with Bednarek, who I don't think he really featured, did he?
Couple of subs, I think. Can I just say on the Cash thing as well, Mark? You mentioned obviously about having the rest, and I've seen him on, I think, Instagram with like Ronaldinho on the beach, whatever.
Yeah.
But the last thing he needs after Mbappe and Messi, he's trying to, you know, catch up with Ronaldinho. I'm sure still got some skills. He'll need an extra month off after trying to deal with those two, won't he?
Mad, honestly.
I've got a good football theory about, you know, when Gaza asked that question, is Emmy going to bring the World Cup for Argentina? In 1978, when they won the World Cup, Argentina missed a penalty in their third game. In 1986, when they won it, they missed a penalty in their third game. 2022, they missed a penalty in their third game.
Ooh. Yeah, I like those series.
It's the little ones that, you know, that kind of catch you out.
Yeah, Spurs won the FA Cup, didn't they? 61-71, 81-91. In 2001, they were all cock-a-hoop.
Yeah, they were going to do it, yeah.
Lost in the semi. But I think, or whatever. No, I think, look, just back on Cash for a second. Isn't it just magnificent to see an Aston Villa player playing for his nation? Well, you know, he's kind of, you know, taken on, obviously, from a grandparent's perspective,
I think it's his mum, isn't it? His mum's Polish.
Yeah, I don't know if it's his mum or it's his grandparents, but either way, I mean, obviously he's absolutely right to play for the country. Have you seen the advert of him doing like a Vodafone advert or something?
Yeah,
it's so brilliant. It's so
he
great.
comes down the chimney.
Martin Cash. He comes down the chimney like Santa.
He's like the hero now, isn't he, of like Polish football? Yeah,
you could just hear the English accent in him speaking Polish, like
yeah.
You could just hear it.
But he's playing with Lewandowski, and so obviously some other really good players in the team. Against, I mean, what he's living the dream, isn't he? This lad who was, a makeshift winger, / fullback for a championship team 3 years back. He's playing against two of the best players, probably the best player in the world right now, and arguably the best player that's ever been in penultimate games, in a crunch group decider game, and then in a knockout game. I mean, that kind of stuff is just amazing experiences, and fair play to the kid, fair play to him.
And he actually did okay against Mbappe. I know Mbappe scored a couple of absolute crackers, but you just look at that player. I mean, it's almost like with Mbappe, it's almost like the Maradona kind of impact of him with Argentina in '86 and '90. Like, he's that good. He could literally win the World Cup for France by himself. So it's going to be interesting on Saturday to see. Well, on to Emmy. Look, just going to show you this picture. I mean, it's just great, like seeing him standing next to Messi. What do we think? I know you mentioned the omens, Martin, but Argentina, have they got a chance? Has he got a chance of getting that double of the Copa America and World Cup in one foul swoop?
It's a big ask with the teams that are there, The Netherlands, they look well. Portugal, who had a very convincing win against Switzerland. Morocco look like they're kind of the dark horses at the minute with the way they're performing. And God, I even say this, England seem to be looking all right at the minute. So it's going to be tough. Could they do it? Absolutely.
Yeah, well, in their half of the draw, if they beat Holland, if Argentina beat Holland, they've got Brazil or Croatia in the semi-final.
Yeah, it's going to be. It really is crunch time. Rich, put that picture up again of Emmy. When the last one you put up. This reminded me when I was in Greece with my kids. Like, so take a picture, please. It's like he's having his two sons. That's brilliant. I think every team in that competition now, probably other than maybe Morocco and Croatia. I know we've had anomaly of the results in terms of the European Championships. Obviously with Denmark and Greece, and of course World Cup 2002 when I think Turkey and South Korea got to the semis, right? But really, when you've got the pedigree of France, England, Portugal looking absolutely brilliant without Ronaldo. You've obviously got Brazil, you've got Argentina, you've got Netherlands. Croatia, obviously, no mugs as well. I think there's some absolutely fantastic teams in there now, and I think it's anyone's. Because in a cup competition, I fancy Argentina to beat Netherlands. I think Netherlands have done pretty well, but I don't know. I just fancy them to beat.
I probably back the Netherlands quicker than I would Argentina.
Either way, they've had some good historical battles. You come up against Brazil, aren't you, in the semi-final?
And don't get me wrong,
it looks like a Brazil.
No, sorry, Kev. Go on. No, go on. Finish, Kev.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like a Brazil. I reckon Brazil versus England or France in the final. Whoever wins that.
Don't get me wrong. I'd love to see Emmy get to the final and see him win it and bring the World Cup back to Villa Park. But I said it at the very beginning of this World Cup, I would not write off the Dutch because they always seem to do well in the World Cup when no one expects them to do well. And when everyone expects them to do well, they do shit. So, you can't really write these lads off. So, you have to see how it goes. No one can predict this World Cup.
No, well, that's what I was just about to say. I mean, all those teams that
was going to be Germany, I would have laughed in your face.
Yeah, I would have. Yeah. Well, all those teams that have got into the last 8, you can make a case for them. Morocco have surprised everybody, but they've got some real players that play for some top teams. They've got their defense is unreal. So most World Cups are won by teams with the best defenses, and dare we say it, Martin? England have done well. France, like I say, have got Mbappe. Argentina seem to kind of Messi will pop up and with a moment of magic, should we say? Brazil, we just know what they can do. So all the and you say Holland, Gakpo seems to be in absolute flying form. So all of them have got a case.
The thing I was going to say about Netherlands is they played Senegal, Ecuador, Qatar. I mean, easiest group of the lot, basically. And then they had USA, who weren't great, were they? Really, they played pretty well.
This is a big test for them. Big test for
them. Yeah, they played pretty well, didn't they, against Wales in the first half, and played well, not bad against England in the first half. But really, they've had no really tough games, and they come through those tests as they should have done. But this is a serious test now.
Yeah.
Same for England, though, really.
Absolutely, yeah. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be, big games over the next couple of days. So back to the Villa. So obviously with the World Cup, and you see players, most of these players we know of, but there's always agents putting the rumours out there, players going out of contract. So the transfer rumour mill is well and truly underway, especially with us having a new manager, all that sort of stuff. But one or two players that are getting linked with us. I'm not sure how much they're getting linked with other clubs, but the first one is probably like pretty much a left field one. Is João Felix of Atletico Madrid and Portugal.
I can already hear Kevin laughing.
I mean, Kev, like, I know we got Coutinho. I mean, we waxed lyrical about him, but he was obviously a player that we now see is pretty much, he's very much past his best. But João Felix is, not even in the prime of his career. He's getting there, and to attract someone like him, and Atletico Madrid are apparently saying that, that he's fully available for transfer. Something to do with agents, where Emery gets on really well with them, and we're kind of at the front of the queue. I mean, what would you think if we could sign a player of his caliber?
I've heard, didn't Una from the Saturdays, didn't she split up with that rugby player, Ben Foden? Remember Una from the Saturdays?
Yes. Don't know if Martin will.
I didn't even hear what he said. Sorry.
If she's still available, I reckon I've got more chance of getting with her. Which I'd really love to. Then we have signing Felix. Una, if you're watching, Una, I know you're a big fan of this podcast. If you're watching, please make that happen, because
at Katie AVFC, there you go.
KTFC. Slide into my DMs, Una. I'm all over it. No, I just think this is absolute pie in the sky. I would absolutely love it if it happened. I think he's an unbelievable talent. I mean, some of the play he did the other day, it was just absolutely tremendous. The way he moves with the ball, he's majestic, but it almost reminds me a bit of Kaka, the way he plays. How we're linked with him, which is great because of the Mendes links. And if it happens, my God, it'd be amazing. But he's going to go to someone like Man United or Chelsea or PSG or Real Madrid. He's going to go somewhere.
Yeah. Is it bait? Is it bait for us?
Yeah, but let's have it. Let's have it.
Yeah. Well,
I'm thinking, even if it gives us 5 minutes a week, whatever, of excitement. Remember, we thought we were going to get Pochettino, and we thought we were going to get, all these different players.
We've got Emery.
He's a high quality manager, and I wouldn't be surprised by getting a high quality player.
He's 23. So he's 5'11". Positions: forward, winger, attacking midfielder. Someone on Wikipedia's put his current team is Aston Villa.
Yeah, come on.
But his senior career, Benfica B, 30 appearances, 7 goals. Benfica, 26 appearances, 15 goals. And then Atletico Madrid, 94 appearances, 24 goals. Is he though, dare I say, and I know Gary's who's joined us, get the impression he's a bit like Renato Sanchez or that guy at Wolves who is shy. Is he a little bit too lightweight for what we're needing?
In terms of a free role type of player, no. No, sorry, yes, he is the type of player that we will be needing.
Is he not then just impinging on Buendia's position, or
let him impinge on Buendia all
day
long?
Impinge. Well, see,
massive upgrade. You're saying massive upgrade.
From what I kind of gathered with and this is where I'm kind of going to link some of the stuff up where with the
Chat,
Milwaukee
not
Bucks,
chat.
you know, the way Wes Edens owns Milwaukee Bucks in the NBA, and his idea of a football team is to build a team around one player. So they've done that with Giannis, where obviously they want to do it with Jack Grealish, and that never materialized because in football you never know what's going to happen. So I think this Joe Felix link could also be coming in ties with that to try and build a team around him, because we don't exactly have a player that we want to build a team around this minute, if we're being honest here. So if you're bringing in someone like Joe Felix, you're going to have to get some, some players to kind of suit around him. So who knows? Maybe that's probably where that link is coming from. Why Deans wants to sign someone to build a team around, and a bit like a Jack Grealish type player, Giannis at Milwaukee Bucks that he owns there as well. So you never know what's going to happen. But
Yeah,
I'd love to see him at Villa. Will it happen? No. I even text my cousin. I said I want a free Shamrock Rover season ticket for life if it happens, and he goes, "No problem, because I know it's not going to happen."
well, AJ's with you. He said he might see him down the Villa in Euro 2028. That's about it.
I think I'd swap one of my kids for him. Honestly, like I was salivating watching him the other night. It was unbelievable. The way he was pressing the ball.
I don't know if Gaza would swap his kids, but he'd swap him out for Coutinho. So there you go. I think you're in love with him more than Gaza.
When I was first reading it and I seen the picture, I was like, we're not linked to him. And I swear to God, I thought the source was going to be like football, that football transfer market
Football Insider.
Yeah, like a crap source. And when I saw the market,
Mail. God.
When I saw the market, I was like, oh, hang on. Like that's, when you have the top source from Spain saying that Villa is pretty much negotiating at the minute with the CEO of Atletico Madrid for Joe Felix. I mean, you kind of have to believe it somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that like me messaging Una and not getting a response?
Well, Mark's a Molly fan himself.
Yeah,
so.
good chat. But she's snapped up now, Mark. So
all right. Yeah. Mark's chances are gone as well. I forgot about this player because we'll go on to the next one who's been massively linked, but I don't know how I could forget about this player, but Jam Jack, and we always seem to get him into some podcast like at least once a month. The rumours of Bellingham's doing so good and so well for England. Man City obviously rear their head, and apparently there's a rumour that to allow themselves to be able to bring Bellingham in, they might be willing to let Jack Grealish go.
Seen that already, yeah.
How would you feel about that, Kevin? Your face paints a picture that you haven't heard that rumor. So,
no, I have heard the rumor. I'm just getting excited by it. I'd just be so happy if Jack came back. Just to be so happy. Let's get Dean Smith back as well. Just like even a caretaker. Like when I say caretaker, I mean looking after the dressing rooms, like a school caretaker. Just something. Just let's get the band back together. Let's get Glenn Whelan. No, Jack, go and win the World Cup, right? Win the Champions League this season. Come back home, son. Come on, son.
He wouldn't come to Villa then if he'd won the World Cup. He'd be going to. I don't know. If City let him go, he wouldn't be coming back to Villa. But
Unai Emery's claim army.
You never know. We can only dream. We can only dream.
Alongside Joe Felix and.
We had all this optimism with Gerrard, and look where that left us. Like with all these players were coming in, it was amazing. We just gotta hold fire at the moment. So I guess the other one maybe a little bit more realistic and potentially a type of player that we need in terms of strong, powerful, quick, can hold the ball up type forward, and is available at a reasonably cheap price. I'd imagine that wages would come into it because Marcus Thuram, I remember his dad. That's how old I am. But he's linked heavily. I don't know if he's been touted around various Premier League clubs because his contract's up, so it'll be whoever pays the most wages. But in terms of a profile of a striker, Martin, that's one that that would fit into what we want to do as a team and what we haven't got currently.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's having a great season so far. Obviously, the Bundesliga went on a bit of a break before the World Cup. Anyway, they generally have their winter break, and in 15 games he's got 10 goals, 3 assists, and that's incredible, you know. And I haven't seen other links with different clubs for him. I do know. I think he's got like I think his contract's expire in the summer. Am I right? Or is
Yeah,
there?
yeah. I don't know if Jamjat means AC Milan is linked for Thuram.
So,
When I was looking at the images of Thuram, there was a Newcastle badge so there must be some sort of rumours about.
I do know. Well, rumor has it that Gladbach have put a 10 million euros. Now I don't know what that is in pound. Price tag on him.
Yes.
And if you want that type of player in your football club, that price is a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. You pay it.
I never understand what stuff like that, because it's like saying like I've just I've got a Lamborghini worth 200 grand and I've put a price tag on it for 15 quid. Like, he's one of the hottest properties in football at the moment, isn't he? Like, I don't understand why. If that is the case, then someone's been drinking something they shouldn't have been drinking at Mönchengladbach, because clearly in this market with his record, I think you're looking at probably at least triple that. You'd think, wouldn't you? Unless there's contractual issues and contracts up, Oh, there you go. Fair enough. Then maybe that's what it is. Then.
Yeah. I think it's definitely a contractual issue, and then he's not going to sign. He's not going to sign. Doesn't look like he's going to sign. He's going to keep his options open certainly anyway to see what comes in. He can double his wages.
I do know Unai Emery wanted him really badly at Villarreal when he was there, and I think he tried to bring him there last summer, and it never materialized for whatever reason. So, like, he's obviously a big admirer. So I'd say he was probably in his ear in the summer as well about coming to Villarreal and playing for him. So it could easily be swayed because they probably had a chat before with the agents and all that. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but just going off previous track record from the summer, I'd say it could be an easier pull than Newcastle or AC Milan to try and bring him over.
And also, Newcastle have got Isak, haven't they?
He's been injured. He'll want to.
I mean,
that's what I mean. It's like they'll want to bed him in. They want to bed another new player in who's going to be on big wages. I'm not so sure. So sure. Quick one to finish off. Obviously, we've got to talk about transfer rumors coming in. Actually, quick question, Kev. How many players do you think we will end up signing? Do you think we'll do a lot of business?
I think we need. And we need more than we'll probably get, basically. I think, but that's the reality of the January window. Although we did obviously sign, I think it was 5 in last January window. I can see us getting a winger, a wide player. We've been heavily linked with wide players, someone to offer a bit more than just Bailey, really, in wide positions. Other than that, I'm not really sure. I'd like to think we might get in a really quality number 8. Is he going to bring another striker in with Watkins, seemingly, looking a bit more like his old self, a little bit Ings, obviously in a decent form? Would that, unless someone comes up and he feels that they're going to improve the squad, which is what we've always said, under this ownership, they've always said if you can improve the squad, then we'll improve the squad with players. But we haven't really often seen it happen with top sort of like first name players all of a sudden being jettisoned. So I don't know, really. I'd like to think it would be a couple, but I'm not too sure.
Yeah. Talk of number 8s there. One player who I don't think was even in the squad for this game, and was mentioned in like by Emery a couple of times, and apparently did well under Emery, but hasn't been featured much, is Morgan Sanson. Do you think this is the kind of window where he does actually go out somewhere else and either play permanently elsewhere or go out on loan, Martin?
I'd say it'd probably be a permanent move. I think he's probably at the point where he's kind of sick of, watching games, sitting there, and when he has played, he does well. I haven't, no one's actually slated him for having a bad game when he's actually played. So I don't know why he hasn't gotten his chance. I'm a fan of him. I like him. But obviously, when you're, a professional player and you want to be playing every week and you're not getting that chance, you're going to have to assess your options. So maybe a permanent move if he is to leave. So, well, I personally would like to see him make that step up. I think, I think he's played with Emery before at PSG, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
and he was
I
playing
think so.
regularly then. So, it could be like at Marseille, it could be a Kamara Sanson partnership if that happens. But if he is to leave, it'd be a permanent. I don't think it'd be a loan move.
Yeah, it's just a bit strange that he hasn't featured at all in any of these games, and after being talked up by Emery, I think he did come on in one of the games, but didn't play in the cup.
Well, I think
So
it was
it's
right
a
not
bit
to
of a
change
strange
when
one.
when they beat when we beat United. I think it was right not to change the team, for the
Oh
case.
yeah.
No, for
Yeah.
Emery just keep it the way it was, just for the sake of because we're gonna have a bit of a break coming up, so that could be a blessing in disguise as well for Sanson. That Emery's probably looking at him and could be keeping his fitness up and wanting to play the way he wants to play. So,
We'll see.
well, that's it. Well, I'll see how it
Yeah.
all goes.
Yeah. Gary's mentioned there about wages and maybe freeing up some of the wage bill, and thinks Coutinho's that player that we need to potentially get rid of. Kev, what would you say on that? Do you think he's got a chance back in the squad with Emery? I know he's had a private conversation, one-to-one conversation with him, or do you think it's going to be saying goodbye at the end of the season?
I wouldn't be surprised if he left in January. I wouldn't be surprised if he left at the end of the season. I'd really love him to work out. I think he's a little magician. We've seen so many glimpses of magic, but just so few glimpses in recent months. But we were all of us were waxing lyrical about him, particularly when he signed in January. It just feels like he's off the pace, and maybe the Premier League. You see some players, it happens. I mean, it happens to people that are sometimes prime of their career, doesn't it? Someone like a Dele Alli, whether that's an attitude or just ability, whatever goes, confidence. He just doesn't seem like he's fit for it. I think when you've got him in the team, you've got Buendia in the team, you've got Bailey maybe not firing, all of a sudden you're a very easy team to play against. So I wouldn't be surprised regarding him. Sanson, I totally agree. Rich is a surprise for me. I thought under Emery, he'd been talked up. I thought he would get a look in. Maybe they've just come to the opinion that maybe he's not quite good enough for what we want to do. Maybe he's behind, Ramsey in the pecking order, etc. Louise, and they've decided, he maybe wants to move on and get regular first in football rather than being a squad player. Maybe there's something in the background going on, because you would think otherwise he'd be getting some more appearances, wouldn't you?
Yeah. And finally, what do you think about some of the young players, Mark? I mean, obviously, Archer is rumoured to be, Sunderland are interested in him. I think Bogard, he was linked to West Brom and one or two other teams the other day.
Norwich was another one.
Who's that? Sorry.
Norwich and West Brom are interested in him.
Norwich and West Brom. You've got Kessler Hayden, who's at Huddersfield, who can't really get in the team at the moment. Is he going to come back? Irig Bonham, obviously the manager's left QPR now. Word that Critchley's going in there, so I don't know if that would keep him there or not. But is there going to be some movement of the young players? First of all, going out from Villa, out on loan, and then potentially one or two coming back in after being away at the start of this season.
I don't see any of them coming in. No, it's just the way Villa's kind of been going at the minute. We have all these young players at our disposal, and we're sending them off on loan. I thought Archer was really going to break through, but obviously for whatever reason he hasn't. I can see him going alone. If he goes to Sunderland, I think that's a good move for him. Upgrade to West Brom or Norwich City, they're two very good moves as well. I can see a lot of players, leaving on loan. I don't see any of them sticking in to the team. Tim at QPR, he's been flying high, so if anyone's going to probably break into the team, it would be him at the minute because he's flying high with QPR. He's got a full season of, playing a high-level football in the Championship. I know a lot of people disrespect the Championship, it's the Championship, but it's still a very high standard of football. So he's playing in that for a full season. So he's kind of nearly now ahead of the pack in all of them at the minute. So I can't see anyone breaking in apart from him, but I see a lot more outs than I do wins.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. That's a really fair assessment. Kev, finally, how glad are you to be back on the pod? How glad are you to be talking about Villa, and how much are you looking forward to the season kicking back off again?
Well, I mean, seeing your faces, particularly Martin's, after such a hiatus, seeing some of the regular comments in the chat, which is always great to see, very heartwarming. Is just it's enough for me anyway. Even if we were just talking around about different nationalities named for Santa Claus and different different noughties pop stars, but to talk about Villa. Adds an extra level of excitement. But talk about Villa under a revitalised, team with a couple of wins in the Premier League on the bounce, going into the second half of the season with really renewed optimism. And I think we have to be mindful that it won't all be upwards, and we have to remember all the things we like about Emery. It sometimes means things might not work, but there's a lot of reasons to be positive. And if we can get a couple of signings in the door of the right kind of calibre, and we can get rid of a couple that we need to jettison and make some good decisions, there's no reason to think. There's one other thing I'd add to that as well is, unbelievably, and there must have been a mistake at the FA because we didn't draw Blackburn or Man United in the FA Cup.
No, we got Stevenage at home. Watch us get beaten.
At home. Stevenage at home. So, I mean, all of a sudden you get a decent, if you beat them, hopefully, you get a decent fourth round draw. All of a sudden you're a couple of games away from the quarterfinal. And anything's possible. So I don't know, let's not get too carried away, but you couldn't ask for a better start, could you?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And positive vibes. Great to be back. Great to have the comments coming in. Great to have everyone watching again. As always, as I said at the start, please give the video a like. It really helps us spread the word of our shows and of the channel. Please subscribe if you're new as well. Like I say, we're well on the road to 750 and then on to that big 1K mark, and we'll do another giveaway once we hit that. Yeah, boys, Martin, amazing to have you back on the pod. Thank you so much for jumping on. Kev, great to see you. Great that you've got your internet sorted. We'll
just
be back
on. Sorry, just before we head off, obviously with my club, Park Villa. So
yes, Park Villa. Yeah,
we have a league playoff final tomorrow for decide the champions of Division 3 with the second team. We've obviously won the Reserve Cup, so masterclass up here as you always do.
Well, was it Marto Conte?
Martinho Conte.
Martinho Conte.
Leonard. Mark, can I ask you, mate? We're not giving too much weight to the opposition. What's your brand of football?
My brand of football.
We always talk about Villa. You hear it on all of the chat. We've got no identity. What's your identity, Mark, as a team, as a manager? What do you do?
Well, I play a 4-2-3-1.
What a manager.
But out of the ball, when we're out of possession, I like to be defending with a 4-4-2. So my number 10 will press the other centre half. And we like to play from out the back, so constantly keeping possession, keeping it moving. And if it's not going right going forward, I say to them, don't be afraid to go back and just recycle and find the gap on the other side. So my identity is, possession-based play, tiring teams off, and off the ball, you don't give them a second. And so that's why we've obviously done so well this season.
Love it, Mark. Love it, mate.
Mark. I like it. I like it.
Modern manager.
Yeah. And so, all the best for tomorrow, mate. All the best.
Tomorrow, Friday, 8 p.m. Against Sporting BJD, full of Brazilians as well, funny enough. So we beat them, we're on the beer, and I'll let you know all about it.
Good lad. You want photos? And let's not forget as well, there's a pretty big game coming up on Saturday night, Rich.
Yes, there is. Morocco against Portugal, big game.
Massive game.
Massive. Isn't it? Yeah. No, of course. We're joking. It's England against France. So, let's hope we're talking about England into the semi-finals on Sunday. And let's hope we talk about a Park Villa victory on Sunday night as well, as we reflect on Aston Villa against Chelsea in their second mid-season friendly. Right, boys, thank you so much. And as I said before, thank you to everyone tuning in. All that is left to remember is we all follow the Villa. Thanks a lot, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.